Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the third day of Swami's Upanyasam on Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam, Mahatmiyam. And as you those who've been coming regularly, we've had a very good time. We've enjoyed Swami's way of introducing complex subjects, but still make it relevant for today's world, and also in the jovial manner in which he addresses us. It's really been fantastic. So this is the third day today. Thank you all for coming. And those that are sitting in the back, if you see others, not now, but waiting to find a place to sit, please ask them to come to the front, because we have enough space in the front we can sit. And as Swami magnanimously advised, if we run out of space, you can join him on the stage, right on both sides. Not on the back, but on both sides you can do that. So I know yesterday we were running out of space towards, we put some more chairs today. So hopefully it will not be a problem. If you do see people, please send them forward so that everybody can have a seat and sit down and enjoy Swami's lecture. We'll start in a few minutes. A different color every day.
Ramanuja Dayapatram Jnanavairagya Bhushanam Srimad Venkatanathāryam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Lakshminatha Samarambham Nathaya Munamadhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Yo Nityam Achyuta Padambuja Yugma Rukma Vyamohada Staditarani Trinayamene Asmad Gurur Bhagavatosya Dayeka Sindhoho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye Mata Pita Yuvatayastanaya Vibhuti Sarvam Yadeva Niyamena Madanvayana Adyasya Nakvalapate Bakulabhiramam Srimat Tadangri Yugalam Pranamami Mudna Bhutam Sarascha Mahadahvaya Bhattanatha Sri Bhaktisara Kulashekara Yogi Vahan Bhaktangrenu Parakala Yatindra Mishran Srimat Paramkushamunim Pranatosmi Nityam Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatojaya Mudirayet Vyasam Vasishthanaptaram Shakte Pautram Akalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatatam Taponidhim Vyasaya Vishnurupaya Vyasarupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanidhaye Vasisthaya Namo Namaha Achaturvadanor Brahma Vibahur Aparoharihi Apala Lochana Shambhu Bhagavan Badarayanaha Parasharya Vachasudham Sumanasaha Dugdhabhi Madhyodridam Samsaragni Vidipana Vyapagata Pranatma Sanjeevanim Purvacharya Surakshitam Bahumatim Vyaghata Durasthitam Anitam Tu Nijaksharaihi Sumanasaha Bhauma Pibantvanvaham Shri Parashara Bhattaryaha Shri Rangesha Purohitaha Shri Vatsankasuta Shriman Shreyase Mestu Bhuyase With the abundant blessings of Paramatma, I have the opportunity to speak in front of such a receptive audience, receptive through the week, not the weekend. Through the week, you're also receptive. I'm so very thankful, grateful to each of you. The topic chosen for the 5-day lecture series is Sri Vishnu Sahasranama Mahatmiyam. The greatness of Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. We are on day 3. We've completed 2 days. And the essence of the Shravana Yajnam that was heard in the first 2 days is the speciality of Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam given in the form of 6 salient features by the commentator, the celebrated commentator, Sri Parashara Bhatta. He gives us 6 features. Mahabharata Saratvat. The essence of Sri Mahabharatam is seen in Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. Mahabharata Saratvat. Rishibhif Pariganataha. The names, which is a compendium given by Bhishmacharya, is none but those names which have been chosen by the rishis in different Puranas at different points in time. Rishibhif Pariganataha. Vedacharya Samaharat. These have been put together. Though Bhishma might have spoken, though Yudhishthira did ask those questions, finally it was the benevolence of the great Vyasacharya Badarayana that we get to see Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. Vedacharya Samaharat, the one who took up the task of segregating the mantras as per Rik, Yajuhu, Samam, is the same person who has also compiled Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. So, Vedacharya Samaharat, Bhishmotkrishtha Matatvataha, uttered by none but the great Bhishmacharya. Jnaninaha alpi bhavanti. There will be a scarcity of learned people if Bhishmacharya passes away, says Krishna. So if Krishna has to say, Swayam Bhagavan has to say that Bhishmacharya is so great, then imagine the greatness of Bhishmacharya. Gangeya, Shantanavam Punareva Bhyavashata, Shantanavam. So his mother was Ganga. If Ganga, Gita Ganga cha Gayatri, Govinde cha Gridisthite, Chaturgagara Samyukte, Punarjanmana Vidyate, Gita, Ganga, Gayatri, Gita, Ganga cha Gayatri, Govindeti Hridisthite, wherever the 4th one, Govinda also resides, Chaturgagara Samyukte, wherever these 4 Gakarams exist, Punarjanmana Vidyate. So that is why people used to learn the verses of Gita. Even while they used to raise from their seat and sit, they would say Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. And Gayatri should be performed thrice a day. And then we have Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So Chaturgagara Samyukte Punarjanmana Vidyate. Ganga is so important. Her son is Bhishmacharya, Devabrata. So that is the 4th greatness. Bhishmotkrishtha Matatvataha. 5th, Parigrahati Shayataha. It has been accepted and consumed by all. Harivamsham mentions of this. The later Parvas in Mahabharatam also talk about this. Vishnu Dharmam talks about this. Charaka Samhita, even the medical practitioners in the ancient days used to tell their patients to follow the correct regime, lifestyle, alongside reciting Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. Charaka Samhita, Brihat Parashara Horashastram talks about the greatness of Vishnu Sahasranamam. Banabhatta, one of the celebrated novelists of those days, who gave us the work called Kadambari, states in Sutika Griha Varnani, while describing a labor room, he says how people used to keep reciting Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam, taking turns incessantly. Why keep it only to one language, Sanskritam? Tamil, which is also one of the ancient classical languages, Andal tells, the mystic poetess, she tells, Namamagiram yeta nindra Narayana narane. The one who is celebrated, hey Krishna, you are the one who is also celebrated in the 1,000 names. Namam Airam Yetanindra. So Vishnu Sahasranamam was in vogue in Srivilliputtur, which is a small hamlet south of Madurai, 1600, 700 years back. In fact, the last of the mystic saints in the Tamil tradition called Thirumangai Alvar, he gave us 6 works. So his predecessor Nammalvar gave us 4 works. Successor Thirumangai Alvar gave us 6 works. So it is said that these 4 works of Nammalvar and 6 works of Thirumangai Alvar are the equivalent of the 4 Vedas and the 6 Vedangas. Nammalvar gave us Thiruviruttam, Thiruvasiriyam, Periya Thiruvandadi, Thiruvaimuri, which is equivalent to Rig, Yajuhu, Atharvana, Samam, because Samaveda equivalent is Thiruvaimuri. So 4 Vedas, 4 works in Tamil. Thirumangai Alvar gave us 6 works, which is equivalent to Shiksha, Jyotisham, Kalpam, Niruktam, Chandas, Vyakaranam, equivalent to the 6 Angas of the Vedas. Thirumangai Alvar gave us Periya Thirumozhi, Nedantandagam, Kurumtandagam, Periya Thirumadal, Shiriya Thirumadal, Thiruvallu Koochirukkai. These are the 6 works. In one of the works called Siriya Thirumadal, I'm not getting into the nuances of the Tamil language, that is not the objective of this session. But in those days, when the Nayika is suffering, she's lovelorn and she's in love with the Nayaka, head over heels, and he doesn't show up. There used to be a process where she used to keep her hair open, sit on a horse and go riding, speaking ill about the boy. So this was called Madal in those days. So Alvar was so much in love with the Lord through the Nayika Bhavam, and when the Lord refuses to ascend or respond to his request, he then says, I shall now sit on the horse and speak ill of you, respond to me. But this work is short in stature, in its number of lines. So it is called Siriya Thirumadal. So in that, the mother, these are all imaginary scenarios that you should think when. It is called Nayika Bhavam. In Bhakti literature, you just don't keep venerating the Lord. Oh, the one who protected the worlds. Oh, the one who measured the world. This is one way. This is called Stuti. Stuti Stota Arana Priyaha. But there's another way to look at it, where your mind assumes the role of a Nayika, and that gets split into the lady who's thinking of the Lord, and the mother who's worried about the daughter who's thinking about the Lord. This is called Bhavana. So now the mother is concerned about her daughter who's always thinking about the Lord. So much so that she's suffering from fever. She has a fever. She has a temperature running. But she's not even concerned about it. She's oblivious about it. The mother now calls an astrologer, not typically an astrologer, a palmistry specialist who would look into the palm and check what could go right or wrong. So this palmistry specialist comes and checks what is wrong with the girl afflicted with the fever, in brackets, like it is like the f of x, function of x, fever because of the Lord. So now this lady, the girl's mother, she says, now that you're a palmistry specialist, this palmistry specialist says, after I make predictions, I've heard, madam, some people don't pay me. So you have to pay me in advance. So this lady fetches one full quintal of rice and throws at her and says, take this and now check my girl's palm. So this description has been given by the Alvar. I shall sing in Tamil. The objective of this particular session is to only tell you how great is Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. Namamagiram yeta nindra. This is Andal. Karar kuழல் கொண்டை கட்டுவிச்சி கட்டேரி சீரார் சுளக்கில் சில நெல் பிடித்தெரிய வேரா விதிர் விதிரா மைசிலிரா கைமோவா. Then the mother asks, have you found out who is the one who has caused this fever in her? She says, yes. Who is that? பேராயிரமுடையான் என்றாள். The one who owns the 1,000 names has caused this fever in your daughter. So 1,500, 600 years before, only because Sahasranamam was in vogue in the south of India. Now we put t-shirts, Hindi theriyadu poda. But in those days they were reciting Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. So Vishnu Sahasranamam was in vogue. Maharishihi Kapilacharyaha Kritagnaha Medhinipatihi. 534th Nama. 534, 535, 536. These are all namas that describe about the avatara of the Lord called Kapilacharya. Maharishihi Kapilacharyaha Kritagnaha Medhinipatihi. There he says Maharishihi Yathokta Vedadarshanat Maharishihi Kapilamurtihi. The Lord was born to Kardama Prajapati and Devahuti. Kardama Prajapati, he had performed penance. The Lord said, do not worry, whatever you ask related to Vedanta, I shall bless you, but eventually you should marry. He said, see, I won't apply in matrimony.com. Nothing, nowhere. Don't worry, the girl's father will come seeking you. Immediately you agree. Who is that father? At least tell me the name. He said, Swayambhuva Manu shall come because he's got 3 daughters. One of the daughters is called as Devahuti. So Devahuti was married to Kardama Prajapati. The beauty is in Srimad Bhagavatam, when the Lord appears in front of Kardama Prajapati and leaves, there's a beautiful indication. How did he come? People generally ask, how did he come? He came on Garuda, but there's no mention of Garuda there. Veda Udirna Sama says Shuka Brahmam, which means they were able to partially listen to some of the hymns of the Sama Vedam. Because Shastram tells that Garuda is the essence of Vedic learning. So Vedatma Vihageshwaraha Netram Gayatra Mochehe. His eyes are like the Gayatri Mantram. His wings, when he flaps, you can listen to Samavedam. Because that is also sound. Vedamudirna Sama. So Shukabrahmam says, as something flapped and they listened to the hymns of Samavedam, which indicates that the Lord came on Garuda. Dikshitar agrees. Kalidosha Haratirtha Prabhava Guru Guhadinatam Kapila Shukadi Sannuda Garuda Vadirudam Varadarajamupaasmahe Vanajasanadi Pujitam Varadarajam. So now Devahuti and Kardama Prajapati had many daughters. Towards the end, she said, now I desire a son. We have had daughters. Beti bachao, beti padhao, to ho hi gaya. Mujhe ab beta chahiye. So that is when they prayed to the Lord. The Lord's Amsha Avataram was born to them. He was called Kapila. This Kapilacharya was extremely, of course, being an Amsha Avatara of the Lord, he carried the essence of Vedanta. So when Devahuti had certain doubts to be clarified, she asked her husband. Husband said, you don't have to ask me, you ask your son. He's very adept. Devahutyai Nyagadihi, says Bhattadri in Sriman Narayaniyam. Kapilatanuriti Tvam Devahutyai Nyagadihi, says Bhattadri in Sriman Narayaniyam. She asked, Mati Gunaranusakta, Bandhakrutteshvasakta. Beautiful verses in Srimad Narayana. Now the son teaches the mother what is Nivritti Dharmam, how the Jivatma has to leave the body, so on and so forth. Now he was a Maharishi. Maharishi, the person who could see. Rishi means mantra drashta. Please understand this. Rishi in those days, the etymological derivation is people who could see the mantra. What is seeing mantra, sir? Do you write that on a blackboard and see? No. The quintessence of the mantra is illustrated in front of them in their divine eyes. So what is the message of Gayatri Mantra? They can see it. So they were called Mantra Drashta, Rishihi. So he was Maharishihi. Yathokta Veda Darshanat Maharishihi Kapila Murtihi. So he was called Kapila. Next Nama Maharishihi. He is also an Acharya. Maharishihi Kapilacharyaha. Why is Kapila Acharyaha? Swayam Acharati Sreshtaha Tasmat Acharyavan Bhaved. The one who practices and then preaches. Have you heard of this? Practice what you preach. In practice what you preach, what comes first?
Practice.
Practice, eat what you cook. What comes first? Cook. Then comes eat. Eat what you cook. So in the chronological order, cooking comes first. Then you eat. Practice what you preach. We have heard this. So what comes first? Preach. Then practice. Is it right? See, for example, I'm a leader. I don't pay taxes. I have to tell all my citizens, pay taxes. Then people will ask me, are you paying taxes? No. First I will preach. A month later, I'll start practicing. That is the meaning of practice what you preach. But in Bharata Desham, the ancient civilization doesn't suggest practice what you preach. It says preach what you practice. First, you have to put what you feel is right to practice. You practice it for some time, then you will have the moral right to tell others, do this. So it is preach what you practice. First you start practicing, then you start preaching. So Swayam Acharati Sreshtaha, the one who follows first, Acharati is to practice. Since he practices first and becomes a role model for others to emulate, he is called as Acharya. Maharishihi Kapila Acharyaha, Kapila Shvasavacharyas Cheti Kapila Acharyaha. Incidentally, he is also one of the pravaktas of Sankhya as a philosophy. There is a matam called Sankhya Matam. This has, how many of you are all Bhagavad Gita experts? If Krishna has doubt, whom can he ask? So the second adhyayam in Bhagavad Gita is called Sankhya Yogam. Sankhya there doesn't have anything to do with what Kapilacharya states. People generally get confused. Kapil ji ne Sankhya mat bola tha aur ye hi Sankhya Krishna ji bol rahe hain. Krishna ji Sankhya 2.0. This is Sankhya 1.0. He gave the Sankhya. Sankhya in Sanskrit means number. So he started numbering the elements of sentient and insentient matter. So he said there are 5 jnanendriyas, pancha jnanendriya, pancha karmendriya, pancha bhuta, pancha tanmatra, mahad moola prakriti, ahankara, manas, and then we've got the jivatma. So that makes it 25. Sankhya Matam. So it is called Sankhya based, Sankhya Matam. Kapilacharya talks about it. Now this Kapilacharya is very important because he also comes in Ramayana Balakandam. Where do we get him? Rama is taken for an internship, industrial practice for 6 days by Vishwamitra Maharshi. In the sojourn, they see a beautiful river flow. He asks, what river is this? This is Ganga, Tripathaga, Ganga. Can you please tell me about it? So Vishwamitra waits for an opportunity to tell stories. Kushika Sutta Katitha Vidita Nava Vivida Katha. He starts telling how Ganga started flowing and all of that. That is when he says what gave rise to Ganga, the situation that was ripe enough for Ganga to come. That is when he says that there was a ancestor of yours, Rama, called Sagara Chakravarti. Sagara performed an Ashwamedha Yajnam, and the sacrificial horse, the Ashwa, was kidnapped. Who would have done that? Any guesses?
Indra.
Indra, as usual, in those days, many FIRs against us. So this Indra abducted the horse. He wanted to divert and did not want Sagara Chakravarti's yagam to be completed. So he took this horse and went and tied it to one of the sticks very close to Kapilashramam. So the sons of Sagaraputras, there were many in number. If I tell the number, we will not be surprised. I am not going to tell the number. 60,000. This Sagara Chakravarti produced. Now the Sagar, probably I don't know how he took care of administration. This would have been his full-time job. Now those 60,000 sons, they come in search of the horse, and finally after a lot of hard work, they spot this horse. And naturally they believe, since it's in the vicinity of Kapilashram, Kapila must have stolen it. Kapila was in deep meditation. When they provoked him, he opened his eyes and did the Humkaram, tells Ramayana. And they turned into ashes. Later, Sagara Chakravarti sends his son called Asamanjas. True to his name, he was Asamanjas. Then Asamanjas' son comes, Amshuman. Then Amshuman's son tries. Then later, their son called Bhagiratha tries. He does many austerities and finally invokes the grace of Brahma. And Brahma says, I will surely help in a huge cloudburst, precipitation. Some glacier will fall. It will come. But somebody has to bear all the force of Ganga on him. That is when he requests Mahadeva, Rudramurti. And Rudramurti says, I will have it. And then the water flows, and then that is able to help in the emancipation of the sins performed or committed by the sons of Sagara Chakravarti. So that Ganga that flows behind Bhagiratha is called Bhagirathi. That Kapilacharya, since I'm talking about Kapilacharya in this land, I have to make a mention of what the great sage of Kanchi, Paramacharya, used to state. In his opinion, Kapilashramam was in a forest called Kapilaranyam, which is current day California. So Paramacharya used to state, and he used to also corroborate that with two other things. They were turned into ashes for the horse. So two islands very close to Californian state is an ash island and a horse island. So this was Paramacharya's thought. How true, how right it is, I am nobody to judge because I am not a big time researcher. I'm just a speaker. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is one occasion where the king of Sindhu Sauvira comes to seek answers to certain questions that he has. Sindhu Sauvira, Sindhu. Sindhu became Sindh. Sindh is that region around Karachi. So that is Sindh. Of course, in India today also, we Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat. The Sindh is not with us, but we are still singing Sindh. Sindh is elsewhere now. But Sindh region was very famous for horses. Most horses used to be nurtured and trained there for wars. So they were the biggest suppliers of horses in those days. Now we talk about weapons, right? In those days, horses used to be supplied. So horses are called Saindhavam because they come from Sindh. But of course, Sindhu also means ocean. Salt is also a product of ocean. So salt is also called Saindhavam. So if I'm having curd rice and I'm asking bring Saindhavam, you should not bring the horse. You should bring the salt. So you should always see the context. Now, Sindhu or Sindha is that region. There was another region famous for horses. It's trivia, but still I'm going to mention. The kings of those regions were called Ashwapati Maharaja. Kaikeyi's father belonged to a province called Kekeya. And Kekeya had its citizens, group of community people called Gandharvas. Gandharvas became Gandhara, Kandahar. And this Ashwapati Maharaja, so this was a title given to all those kings because they too nurtured. So southern part of Pakistan, upper part of Pakistan and Afghanistan, that also nurtured horses. Ashwapati was the name of the king. So Ashwa, Shwakaram is not there in Persian language. Fa is there. Ashwa became Afgha. There you have that region. Now the Sindhu Sauvira country was ruled by a king called Rahuguna Maharaja, who comes to the banks of river Ikshumati flowing near Kurukshetra in Haryana. As he goes by that region to meet Kapila in Kapila Ashramam. Kapila Ashramam current day is in Ganga Sagar, the place where Ganga meets the ocean, south of West Bengal. So that is Kapila Ashramam. So on his way, he spotted a Jada Bharata who gives answers to those questions. Why did I make a mention of it? Because Bhagavatam tells Kapila Ashramam is somewhere near Bengal. But Paramacharya used to state it used to be in this Kapila Aranyam. Kapila Aranyam got the name California. Nevertheless, this Kapila who came up with the Sankhya philosophy is the same Kapila who upon whose curse these sons turned into ashes. How do we know that? The 536th Nama says it. Kritagnaha Maharishihi Kapilacharyaha Kritagnaha. Generally in Sanskritam, Kritagnaha, if it is used, Kritagnya as a quality, it means grateful. Kritagnyata, gratitude. Kritagnya, grateful. You know what is the word in Sanskritam for ungrateful? No. Very good. Kritagna. Just that pronunciation you have to be careful. Kritagnya is grateful. Kritagna is ungrateful. So Kritagnaha, here the nama is derived as Saparadha Sagaratpatyepi Amshumati Swabhinamratvut Sukritameva Jnanatvan iti Kritagnaha. The one who later used this opportunity to bring the waters of Ganga to earth is called Kritagnaha, who is Kapilacharya. So these are three namas that we have discussed till now about Kapilacharya. Now as we are discussing Swayambhuva Manu, you know I started with Swayambhuva Manu. I said he had how many daughters? Three daughters, very good. How many sons? Two. One was called Priyavrata and the second was called Uttanapada. This Uttanapada had two wives, Suniti, Suruchi. Suniti had a son called Dhruva and Suruchi had a son called Uttama. Now this Uttama, one day, this king loved only his second wife, Suruchi. So she was the page 3 wife. Suniti, she couldn't help. Now one day this Uttama goes and sits on the lap of his father. Simple incident. And the father, naturally being the father, he pampers the child, he cuddles the child, he blesses the child. Looking at the father showing this quantity, amount of affection on his brother, the elder one, Dhruva, born to the king through Suniti, who has been witnessing this from behind the pillar, runs and goes and sits on the father's other lap. It was empty. Expecting that the father would also show him the same affection. Even before the king could think twice, Uttama's mother, Suruchi, comes and she pulls this 4-year-old boy. 4-year-old. You have LKG here? LKG. Not even LKG. She pulls this boy and she doesn't stop there. She says, "Are you born of me to receive such a royal treatment? You are born to that after all, Suniti. And you expect such a treatment which befits the aristocrats?" She reprimands the 4-year-old boy. This boy gets upset. Had it been my child, bye. Same thing. Now this boy got extremely hurt, wounded. As he got wounded, How wounded was he? To which Tyagaraja Swami states, he says, take a shulam made in cast iron, put that into blazing fire, sharp cast iron trident in blazing fire. You should see the redness on its surface. Take that trishulam and then insert it into somebody's ears. How painful it would be. So painful were her words. Sapatni madayau suruchi karna shulamaina matanu. Karna shulamaina matanu. So these words were as sharp and troubling like Sapatnima Tayau Suruchiche Karna Shulamai. It was like Karna Shulam. Now this Dhruva Chakravarti is extremely upset. He goes and tells his mother, what should I do now? She tells, I am helpless, my dear boy. Ask great sages. Vishnu Puranam tells, this boy goes and asks the Sapta Rishis. Bhagavatam tells, the boy goes and asks Narada Maharishi. Now their recommendation is, you have to dhyanam achyuta. You have to pray to Achyuta. He is the universal father. Whatever love you have been wanting from your father, whatever your father has not been able to bestow upon you, can be given only by Vasudeva. Then using the mantram called Dvadashakshari, Vasudeva mantram, this boy gets into severe austerities. He doesn't eat, he doesn't drink water, he consumes only air, he doesn't even have dry leaves. See, in those days, if you do vratam, and you want to be very, very honest with that vratam, but you have to keep the Jivatma within you, you can still consume the dry leaves in the forest. But you know, who's the biggest lover in this world? Parvati. She wanted to marry Shiva and she observed vratam. While she left for the vratam, her mother knew, Manorama, her name was Manorama, Mena. So she said, don't go, my dear daughter. I know you are very, very adamant in marrying Shiva, but I know about you as well. If you decide to achieve something, you will achieve. So your austerities will be so vigorous. Don't go, Uma. In Sanskrit means don't go. So that became her name, Uma. Says Kalidasa in Kumara Sambhavam. Then she goes to the forest, she is meditating on the Lord Mahadeva. She doesn't even consume the dry leaves. Paranam in Sanskrit means leaves. Since she doesn't consume the dry leaves too, her austerities were so rigid and rigorous, she is called Aparna. She doesn't consume those leaves. Now, Dhruva too initially consumes those leaves, later he stops that also. Then he took the Badara juice, Badara fruit juice. We all take different things like we are on quinoa diet, quinoa, brown rice, all of that. So he too did, and finally the Lord appeared. As the Lord appeared, how will he know? Because he's in proper meditation. Had it been our meditation, he would have known. But he's closing his eyes in proper meditation. That is when the entire atmosphere, the vicinity around him had turned just as bliss incarnate, pure tranquility around him. So while he just meditated on the Lord appeared. And the Lord who appeared took that shankha. See, you can imagine somebody is in destitution, very bad shape, no proper economic status. They've been finding it tough to even get their bread and butter or dosa and chutney or whatever. Very poor. Now imagine that person goes to Las Vegas. There is chance that he may still hit the lottery. Las Vegas is a problem, they can at least go to Kerala. Kerala is full of lottery. So you can manage to get sudden wealth. See, wealth can be obtained. Of course, you have to work hard and that is the right way of getting. But still there is a possibility for you to get sudden wealth. But knowledge you can't do like that. Somebody touches my head. Suddenly I get all the 4 Vedams in me. I had no knowledge of it before. Suddenly they touch me. See, all this is good in Grantham. But it is generally not possible. You have to work very hard for knowledge. You have to work hard for acquiring knowledge. You have to work harder for that knowledge to remain. That is another bigger problem. Right? We get knowledge at least these days. So much in YouTube. You keep pressing. If you don't like me, you can just hit on my mouth because the pause button will be exactly on my mouth. Yes, I am. And then if you're later finding okay, it's okay, you keep talking, then you can release me again. I'll keep talking. So there's immense content on the YouTube, but we keep hearing, but does it stay with us? Pattinathar used to say, Aatrile kaitha puliyanappu. The flowing river, if you have to squeeze the pulp out of tamarind, it won't stay. Unlike your vessel, it will keep going. So is knowledge. But for Dhruva, what generally won't happen, happened. The moment the Lord took that Shankam out, and with that palm that holds the conch, he touched the boy's chubby cheeks. Yontah pravishya mama vachamimam prasuptam sanjeevayatyakila shakti dharaswadhana anyamsha hasta charana shravanatvagarin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. The moment he touched, all that jnanam came to him. He was choked with emotions. He couldn't speak. Only tears was flowing from the boy's eyes on his cheeks. It was copious tears. The moment the Lord touched, he started doing a stuti, which is famously called Dhruva Stuti. Nanmare potidum nemiyam naranan panchajanyanai kondu paviyai tindida kanbadum kanavallave. This is a composition from Vidwan Prasanna Swami here. He has come up with a beautiful work, an opera on Dhruva Charitram. So I had the bhagyam to sing a few lines. Kanbadum kanavallave. The boy wonders if this is reality or is this dream. Kanbadum kanavallave. Yandan kannedhiril anda karumugil vannanai kanbadum kanavallave. So this boy who attained, now the Lord then says, the boy does stuti, and finally the Lord is impressed with the boy. He asks, what do you want? The boy now thinks, thank God my stepmother hurt me. Had it not been that situation, I would have not had the saubhagyam to sit on this lawn. What affection, what love am I getting now? Is there a match to it? Then the Lord says, you will get Dhruva Padam. There is one particular place, you get the highest abode, Dhruva Padam. Then there is a unique boon. He says, the Lord says, from now on, incessant memory. Memory should be incessant in a way. You should, whatever we study should stay with us. It should not be like engineering semester pattern. First year we need thermodynamics, first semester, second semester we don't have to remember thermodynamics. That is why after engineering, when I came home, I couldn't even fix the fuse. That was the effect of my engineering. So, my grandmother was very innocent. So when the pipe used to go wrong, your engineer check this. That and all I don't know. I know only Bernoulli's equation, PV is equal to RP, boils up. Whatever is not relevant and applicable to the house only, I know. So, this knowledge has to be relevant, relatable, cherishable. See, when you study and listen to something, you should be able to enjoy and cherish it. It should not be a very mundane process. I remember this tomorrow, I forget. What knowledge is that? Ilate. In UP, we used to read in differential calculus. Ilate, which is to be given priority. Inverse, logarithmic, algebraic, trigonometric, exponential. When 5 of them come together, what use is this? Upanyasam I'm speaking. Somebody said, sir, if you study law, what will you become? Lawyer. If you study medicine, doctor. Engineering, Upanyasaka. காண்பதும் கனவல்லவே எந்தன் கண்ணெதிரில் அந்த கருமுகில் வண்ணனை காண்பதும் கனவல்லவே. So this boy was given a boon. Incessant memory, uninterrupted memory shall be called by your name, said the Lord. That is why in Sanskritam, good memory is called Dhruva Smritihi. Bhagavad Ramanuja uses this. Avichinna Smriti Santana Rupa Taila Dharavat Avichinna Smriti Santana Rupa Dhruva Smritihi. Our meditation on the Lord should be uninterrupted like the flow of oil. When you open an oil tap, it won't come with interruptions, bubbles. It will come straight. Whereas water tap, you open it, it will go there, here, bubbles. To preserve water, now there is another instrument within the tap, right? It will give more bubbles so that you can save that water. Full of bubbles. Like this, Avichinna Smriti Santana Rupa is called Dhruva Smriti. How do we know this in Sahasranamam? 389th Nama. Dhruvaha. So this Dhruvaha, the commentator says, Sakhalu Tunga Pada Pradanena Arvachinam Dhruvamapi Dhruvi Chakara Ato Dhruvaha. The one who appeared in front of Dhruva and blessed that little boy of Dhruva is called Dhruva. Like how they said, democracy is by the people, of the people, for the people. So the one who appeared in front of Dhruva, who blessed Dhruva of Dhruva is called Dhruva. The one who appeared in front of Dhruva is the Lord. What did he bless Dhruva of? Dhruva Smriti. What is he called? Hence called Dhruva. So the Lord's name is Dhruva. Devotee's name is also Dhruva. Dhruvaha. Next, we will go to another beautiful avataram called Matsya Avatar. This Matsya Avataram interestingly has a connection with the Western philosophy as well. A lot of the elucidations given in the Western philosophy, in the Occidental philosophy, we are Oriental, Occidental is the Western philosophy. All three prominent Western religions mention of one incident. In its description, it is very close to Matsyavatara. There was a king called Satyavrata. Satyavrata was a Pandyan king. Pandyan king means he ruled Madurai. Now you may wonder, sir, we thought Pandyas, Cholas were of the 10th, 11th, 12th century. We didn't know they are from the Puranic times. No, they were from the Puranic times. They had ups and downs. Chola Desham, Chola was very popular even during the times of Ramayana. This word Dravida appears in Balakandam and Ayodhya Kandam. Sindhu Sauviraha cha Dravidaha. Dasharatha tells, Kaikei, don't be upset. What do you want? I will get them. I've got friends in Dravida Desham, he says. Sindhu Sauviraha cha Dravidaha, he says. So Cholas, Pandyas were quite old. Even during the Puranic times, they existed. So there was a king, Pandyan king called as Satyavrata. Can anyone tell me in Gajendra Moksha Vrittantam, there is another Pandyan king who comes? Any guesses? Very good. Indradyumna. Indradyumnaha Pandya Khandadirajas Vadbhaktatma Chandanadrau Kadachit Tvatsevayam Magnadhiraluloke Naivagastyam Praptamatityakamam, says Bhattatri. So Indradyumnaha was a Pandyan king. Similarly, there was another Pandyan king. And this Pandyan king was called Satyavrata. He went to the banks of the river Kritamala. Kritamala is today called Vaigai. We are interestingly speaking about Madurai and Vaigai during the Chitrai Utsavam. Now, Madurai Meenakshi's marriage will happen and Kallalagar will get inside the waters of Vaigai. We don't have too much of water, so they'll buy water, put it into Vaigai. Now, this king took some waters to do Argyam. You know Argyam? Argyam is you take some waters and during 3 times in a day, you look at the sun. Early morning sun Argyam is very important because Taittiriya Aranyakam tells that there are certain demons who prevent the sun from rising. So those asuras, demons, rakshasas are pushed to a dweepam called Mandeharunam. While you do Argyam, this says the mantram. So every drop of your Argyam turns into Vajrayam, is what Vajri Bhavanti says Vedam. Now this person, this king wanted to do Argyam. While doing Argyam, he spotted a little fish, small fish, tiny fish. Thought, why should I disturb this fish? He put that into his Kamandala. It turned a bit big. Immediately, instant weight gain. Then he took that Kamandalu Jalam and that fish and put it into a bigger vessel. It turned bigger. Then he thought there is no use, I'll bring that back and put that to Vaigai. That is when an ethereal voice told him that in a few days from now, there will be a huge deluge, pralayam. And to sustain livelihood, you need to take certain specimens of flora and fauna with you in a boat. This is where I said it is very close to the Western philosophy. Now, this boat has to be tied to the horn of a fish. Will fish have horns? No. But there is a fish variety called longhorn cowfish. Check that. There is one fish. It has got horns. I don't know its binomial nomenclature. Check that. Now, you have to tie your boat to that. The fish will guide you. And as you escape, see, when I say deluge, it doesn't mean the entire world would have undergone deluge. It is called certain parts will undergo deluge. So you have to help sustain an entire habitat using the specimens you carry. That is Matsya Avatar. This is very similar to the Western philosophy, which also says that livelihood was sustained when a certain person drew a boat and then there was a fish, and all this narration is there. Now there are a few namas related to Matsyavataram. 212th nama. Dhama. Samhara Nashwaras Charachara Bijadhara Naukarna Dharatvena Tadashrayatvat. Being in the form of a fish, Matsya, the Lord who carried specimens of the immovable and movable, Chara, Achara, Charati, Acharati, walks, doesn't walk, mobile, immobile, Naukarna Dharatvena, and also took the king in the boat. Tadashrayatvat Dhama. The one who did all this is called Dhama. So this is the 212th nama. Now, even while coming as a fish, how was he? Lord was extremely beautiful, beautiful fish. Now, when he came as a fish also, he didn't want to give up his USP, which is Alankar. See, some people, however, here I don't follow Hollywood that much. In Bollywood, some person is dead also. People who come to inquire will take care whether they are wearing good white, whether the palazzos are good, whether that goes well, whether it has got a thin border, whether it has got a Paithani border or Nikat border. Very careful. So they are all children of Matsya. Because even in Matsya Avataram, the Lord deluge. I remember my grandmother telling, in her village, that was, I'm talking like 70, 80 years back, roughly. So that was a time camera was a huge craze. You get a photo of yourself, that was like very close to moksha. Just here, both of them are very close. And there used to be a big burst because there used to be a bulb and then they'll burst. So you'll have to, so people were very concerned. So they'll dress up well. You'll after all get only a black and white photo. With all these alankaram, you won't even know whether it is MS blue or everything will be black and white. So, one of the villagers, he was also expected to be a part of the group photo. So he was not coming. And finally he came. And then people said, okay, now everybody is ready. This person says, wait, I'll go. You've come, why do you want to go? I need to apply perfume. So he thought the photocopy will also smell. But sadly, I should not use the word sadly, interestingly, when people come and invite, nowadays a lot of WhatsApp invitations come, which is good. Of course, some people say, no, we need to come and invite you in person. They'll come. Then after giving the invitation, there's generally a paddhati of opening the invitation and checking the details. I'm just giving you an example of how the South Indian Sri Vaishnava invitation will look like. Each of you can mimic it to your own sampradayams. Srimad Vedamarga Pratishthapanacharya Rai Shanta Shamadamadi Asankheya Kalyana Gunangal Sampurnarai Elundarulirukka Koodiya Swamiyin Sannidhiyil Adiyen Taalum Tadakkayum Kuppicheyum Vijñāpanam Ubhaya Kushalopari Kshemam. First two lines. Nobody will read this. Now they have to describe the boy. Ayyambettai Rajagopala Ayyangarin Pautranu. Vadayapettai Ramacharyarin Dauhitranu. Adiyenuடைய Ganishta Kumaranumana Aparyaptamritan என்கின்ற நிதினை. On the other side, similarly, the girl's grandfather, maternal grandfather, paternal grandfather, now they have to give the Vedic name. Apita Kuchamboy! என்கின்ற Nisha. You know only Nisha. You know only the darkness. So now that person gave me that invitation. I took and read the details. Then he said something very like, sir, seeing is not important. Smell it. Because it was a scented invitation. So for an invitation, you want scent. For another person, for the photo, he wants scent. And why will the Lord during deluge not adorn himself? So during the deluge, the one who came as Matsya and had Vaijayanti around him. Vaijayanti is the unique garland of the Lord that carries 5 stones. Emerald, ruby, sapphire, all these in it. So he is called Sragvi. 217th Nama. Sragvi. Tiryaktvepi, even being a Tiryak. Paratva Suchani Vaijayantri Sragasya Nitya Yoga Niti Sragvi. The one who adorns himself with the garland even during the times of deluge while being a Matsya is called Sragvi. So next, another beautiful Nama. See, there is a belief. Again, we should not confuse reality with literature. Poetry, prose, drama, they have their own means of coming up with similes and metaphors and onomatopoeia and so on. So we should not get confused, overlap this. For example, in literature, we believe that an elephant in its temples will always secrete an intoxicating fluid. It is called Madajalam. That's a belief in literature. Now you can't end up going, tell elephant come here, bend, So it is believed that an elephant in its temples will secrete an intoxicating jalam called Madajalam, which is so tasty for the bees will keep hovering around the mastakam of an elephant. All literature, Kalidasas, Malavika, Agnimitram, everywhere they describe an elephant, they talk. Even Anda says, Undu Madakalitran. And there's another belief. Where do pearls come from? Where do pearls come from? Narayana pearls, Hyderabad. Oyster. Very good. There is a belief in Sanatana Dharma, in the literature. The poets say that pearls just don't come from oceans. They also come from the mastakam of an elephant How do we know this? Kalidasa says in Malavikagnimitram, when an elephant when a lion kills an elephant by tearing open its mastakam, and a lot of pearls have fallen on the slopes of Himalayas, he says. This is a belief. Need not be that the elephant produces pearls. It may not, it will not, it is not. But still, there is another belief in the literature that pearls also come from bamboo. I don't know, it could be bamboo also gives rise to rice, bamboo rice. So maybe the rice was treated akin to a pearl. We don't know. Similarly, there is a belief in literature that the mother fish need not have to cook or fetch food for the little ones. If the mother fish looks at the little ones, their stomachs will be filled. Wish we had that once. The mother has to go, what have you made? She'll say, come here. She'll look at the son, stomach gets filled. You don't have to go to the kitchen at all. So here, the mother fish will look at the little ones and they will feel filled. Which means that the mother has to look for the children's sustenance. Her glances, her eye glances are enough for the children to be nurtured and nourished. Which is partially true. See, a little child who's just a year old, 2 years old, when it wants food, when it wants milk, when it cries, and keeps looking for the mother this way, that way, and the mother just passes by, they just plays, the child will stop crying. Because half of its hunger gets satiated when it looks at the mother. So the mother's looks do matter, but not to the extent of stomach getting filled. That is why the reigning goddess of Madurai is called Meenakshi. Her akshi, her eyes are like a fish. She is also like the mother fish who will administer and nourish her children just through her looks. That is the greatness of Meenakshi. Meenalochani. Meenalochani Pashamochani Manini Kadamba Vanavasi Meenakshi Me Mudam Dehi Me Chakangi Rajama Tangi. So she's called Meenakshi, Meena, fish. There is another great work called as Lakshmi Sahasram. See, you make it a point. I know many of you are working. All of us have our household job. But make it a point. In the next 2 months, I will explore on one ancient work in Sanskritam. Make it a point. 2 months I will study Kalidasa, Shakuntalam. Let's see. People say, Kavayaha Kavyeshu Natakam Ramyam Tasya Ramya Shakuntala. Amongst the Kavyam types, Natakam is the best. Amongst the Natakams, Kalidasa's Shakuntalam is the best. Kavyeshu Natakam Ramyam Tasya Ramya Shakuntala. Shakuntalam is the best. That is why they say if you start counting Kalidasa on one hand, one palm, you should not count the other poets in the same palm, it seems. You should use the other hand. He is a nully secondus, exceptionally great playwright. So Shakuntalam is that great. Read Shakuntalam. See, we have resources today. If you want to buy a book, you can buy it in India. Somebody can courier it to you. You may get it on Amazon. You can check on archives, digital library. So many ways. So there is a work, roughly 400, 500 years old. It is called Lakshmi Sahasram. 1008 verses by a blind poet called Venkatadhvari Kavi. This Venkatadhvari Kavi, while splitting the 108 verses on Mahalakshmi, he comes up with a stabakam called Dashavatara Stabakam. Why is it Dashavatara Stabakam? He tries to say that every avatara of the Lord happened because of Mahalakshmi. There he says, as the Lord who's being massaged, his legs are being massaged by Mother Thai massage. She gives. So as she keeps pressing the Lord's feet, the Lord keeps looking at her. is looking. She's so pretty. She's so beautiful. Her eyes look like the fish. One of our poets said, Madurayil paranda meen kodiyai un kangalil kandene. Eyes look like the fish. Now the Lord was very much interested. Such beautiful eyes she has got. I don't have those fish-like eyes. He felt very sad. What can we do? Our nose cannot be great. Fish cannot. This cannot be great. And we are not Rekha to change that. So, when eyes are not that great, what to do? The Lord kept looking at her. Her eyes were like fish. He didn't have the eyes of the fish. So the poet says, he became the fish. Sahi Shri Amrita Satam iti guna, says he. So the Lord came as a fish to just satiate his own thirst, looking at the beautiful fish-like eyes of Mahalakshmi. When he came as the fish, remember what description I'm giving, you have to be very careful. The Lord kept looking at Mahalakshmi, who's seated on the lotus. Remember this description. She's seated on the lotus. She sports the garland of lotus flowers. She has lotus in all her palms. Her palms are like the lotus. You're able to get the difference? Palms are like lotus. She has lotus. She sits on lotus. She has got Padma Priya, Padma Hasta, Padma Akshi, Padma Sundari, Padmodbhavam, Padma Mukhi, Padma Nava, Priyam, Rama. She is loved by the one who has an nabi of Padma. She sits on the lotus. She has got palms like the lotus. She has lotus in her arms. She smells like the lotus, Padma Gandhini. Now, how are her eyes? Like fish. So now the Lord thought, I shall become the fish. While he became the fish, his eyes were like the lotus. Matsyaha kamalalochanaha, says Puranam. Iti spashta parivibhutihi Shriman. The one who incarnated as the fish, and while coming as the fish, which was inspired from Mahalakshmi's eyes, had the eyes of a lotus, is called Shriman in Sanskrit. So if you have a son, call him Shriman. Now, generally, one of my friend, he said, sir, I went and asked one of my class, my son's friend, his name was Shriman. Sir, Shriman is a prefix, right? Shriman Ji, Shrimati Ji, we used to have a serial in those days. So Shriman comes before the name, right? How can the name itself be Shriman? See, in those days, if a teacher used to come in the Tamil class, they used to prefix the teacher's name with the word Thiru. In Tamil, Thiru stands for Shri. So if a person is called Jnana Sambandam, Thiru, Jnana Sambandam Avargade, the name of the professor is Tirunarayanan. Tirunarayanan. So the name itself is Shriman. What to do? It is okay because remember, the first verse of the celebrated 4 verses on Mahalakshmi is called Chatushloki. The composer says, Kantaste Purushottama Panipadishyasanam Vahanam Vedatma Vihageshwaro Yavanika Maya Jagan Mohini Brahmeshari Surabraja Saraidatwadda Sadasi Ganaha Shri Ityeva Janamate Bhagavati Bhrumakadam Swamvayam. O Mahalakshmi, you are venerated by your good devotees by one word, which is your name, Shri. Mahalakshmi's name is Shri. You don't have to add anything after Shri. Shri Mahalakshmi. Some of them, they ask, sir, give us a short name, nice name, prosperous name, great name. Shri. So it is too short. Because you cannot shorten this further. Yeah. If you have Padmanabhan, you become Paddy. You become Madhavan Maddy. Parthasarathi Pochu. Srinivasan Chima. Chini. With Shri, what can you do? The name itself is so short. Shri. So Shriman, the Lord is called, if she is called Shri, he is Shriman. The one who has the eyes of a lotus in the Matsyavataram is called Shriman. Matsyaha Kamalalochanaha iti spashta paravibhutihi Shriman. We have one more beautiful avataram, lesser known avataram, where the Lord became the one who bestows and the one who receives it. Nara Narayana Avataram. He practiced Nivritti Dharma. Pravritti Nivritti Dharma. Pravritti Dharma says means and modes how to live, art of living, it tells. Nivritti Dharma is art of leaving. The Jivatma has to go. That is Nivritti Dharma. So, in this Nivritti Dharma, there is a nama. Now, Sarvadarshi, Vimuktatma, right? But in the manuscript available to Parashara Bhatta 1000 years back, he did not see Vimuktatma. He saw Nivrittatma. Sarvadarshi Nivrittatma Sarvajno Jnanamuttamam. Similarly, Parashara Bhatta has another place. Sadasaksharam Aksharam. Sadasaksharam Aksharam. He doesn't treat it that way. Sadaksharam Asaksharam. He splits it that way. So there will be subtle differences, but you will end up with 1,000 names. That you don't have to worry. Nivrittatma, 453rd Nama. Again, this is all an indication. Based on the commentary, it could be 452 or 454, 453rd. See, there are certain namas. Tomorrow I'll deal with it. Eko naika savah kahkim yettat padamanuttamam. Now, Parashara Bhatta treats every word differently. Saha, kaha. So, he treats every word differently. Certain acharyas don't treat it that way, but they still land up with 1,000 names. That's a beauty. Nivrittatma, tatra, Nivritti dharmocharyo naranarayanadi parama vairagyakyapanaya vishayebhyaha pratyahrit manaha. So why did the Lord come as Naranarayana? So there was an asura called as Sahasranamam, says Puranam. So every kavacham of it could be taken away only by a person who's fighting him while meditating was his boon. So while you're meditating, how can you fight? So that was his boon. So the Lord split himself into a two. Nara, Narayana, while one was fighting, the other was meditating. So he was able to vanquish very easily Sahasra Kavacha. And this place where he vanquished was commemorative of their contribution. So this Parvatam was called Nara Parvatam and Narayana Parvatam. And housed in the beautiful place where that slopes of Naranarayana Parvatam is Badarika Ashramam called Badrinath today. Shri Satyanaranam Upasmahe Nityam Satyajnanandamayam Sarvam Vishnumayam Vasavadi Pujitam Batu Vesha Bhagitam Dasajana Paripalitam Vasamana Badari Sthitam. Now, there is a small confusion in this nama. Satyanarayana. Now, the Satyanarayana is the one Satyam Vidhatum Nijabhritya Bhashitam. He is very true to his devotees. He will give what his devotees ask, he will give. So, there is a very famous puja called Satyanarayana Puja, Satyanarayana Vratam, generally performed on the days of Paurnima, full moon. And very popular amongst the Astikas who speak the Telugu language, Kannada language, Marathi language. Now others also do. This Satyanarayana is believed in the Vrata Shastram to be very beneficial. If you do this puja, it is very beneficial to the business. Vaishya Jati Karanam. Vaishya Jati Karanam for business. But in Veda and Vedanta, there is another nama given for the Lord. He's called Satya Narayana. That is different. This is Satya. If you know to write Devanagari, Sa, half the and Ya is Satya. The Vedic Satya is Sa, half the, full the, and Ya. Satya. You get it there. See, for example, we say one shloka towards the end. You all will know. Swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam. Tarvata eni. It is not nyayena. It is nyayena. You have to give double stress. It's not nyaya. Nyaya means justice. It's nyayena. You check the shloka in wherever you get in Google also, you check. I don't know whether the Google, then you don't say what I've said is wrong. I have learned it from my acharya. You correct in some good source. Half ya, full ya. It's nyayena margyena mahishaha. Similarly, in the Vedanta, it is Satya Narayana. So that Sat becomes one Vastu. Sadeva Soumya Idamagrasi Vekameva Dvitiyam says Chandogyan. So that's Sat. Now, let me come back to Badrikashram. So, while the Lord was performing penance, that is when Indra sent a few other damsels under his control. Menaka, Ramba, Tilotama. They all came and danced to the background. As they danced, they wanted to disturb his penance. See, ultimately, we don't have to go till Ramba, Urvashi. Even while we are doing puja, we may get one phone. That is Ramba. Somebody may, here you can't go to somebody's house without informing, so that ringing bell won't happen. If that happens, that is Tilotama. Right? So anything which is a deterrent or an obstacle become these damsels. Now, Indra dispatched these women with the belief that they will be able to successfully stop or be a deterrent to their austerities and penance. Narayana opened his eyes. That's a beautiful shlokam in Bhagavatam. As he opened, how he opened. Andal tells, Shengan chirichiride emme vidiyavo. When you open your eyes, when you wake up itself, you should wake up in a very relaxed manner. Every week, practically every day, I don't have one day break in this 45-day tour. 10 cities, 45 days, every day 2 hours of lecture. I have to go. And I'm doing a beautiful Rangoli of US map. So LA, Bay Area to Atlanta to Seattle to Houston to Detroit, Chicago, Dallas. Now, so my life is like 6 o'clock flight morning. I have to wake up at 3 because the airport will invariably be in another Dvipam. So I have to wake up by 3. So I'll keep the alarm for 2:30. You won't believe, I won't sleep till 2:30. Every 1 hour I'll wake up. Then 2 o'clock I'll sit. Then I'll check if the alarm is working. I have to press that dismiss. Consciously I have to press. Is this sleep? The Lord sleeps. Parkadalul payyattu endra paraman. Look at Andal's word. Payyattu endra paraman. He is not bothered. Let there be an earthquake. Let there be a forest fire. Let there be a war. Park. What has happened? Lakshmi, read the newspaper today. So calm and composed. I remember how my grandfather enjoyed his retired life. Morning, he used to wake up at about 4:35. And he has to brew his own coffee. Not that instant coffee. First, he has to go to the shop. The person has to fry those coffee seeds right in front of him. Else this man won't pay. He has to fry. And then that person will ask him, what proportion should I put the chicory, sir? He'll tell 80-20. Then the fine ground powder will come. Fresh powder that smells intoxicating. He'll come. There'll be a 2-stage processor. He will put that coffee onto the first stage. Add little sugar, because if you add little sugar and put that coffee powder, the decoction will be thick. Try this. See, all this stuff. Note this down. Sriman Sridhar always. So, boiling hot water, piping hot. He has to put that on that first cup, because why I'm telling piping hot? Because if it's piping hot here, you have to mention on the cup, it is hot, be careful. Then nobody would sue my grandfather. So you put that piping hot water, and then slowly the decoction will come. Saram, alpasaram, saram, saratavam tere, this is Vedanta. Pure saram will come. Then he'll take this decoction and put it back into the first. It is called double decoction, double strong. Then he will boil our. In Bangalore, we still get that milk called Nandini. Nandini. In Nandini, the liquid will be white. We don't know if it is milk. White liquid. So you have to take a lot of efforts to separate that water from that milk. So you have to boil. Like we are all Hamsa avatars. The Hamsa you have to separate. Then finally that thick milk will come. He will put that milk. There has to be that lather, that foam at the top. And then he will take that steel tumbler with that little one through which he has to bring it to the normal condition. And then he used to open the Hindu paper when it used to be good. So he used to open the Hindu and then he'll slowly enjoy 5:45, 1.5 hours. Then I used to think how he enjoyed his retired life. And then, they roll the tumbler and then take every sip of it. So the Lord opened his eyes like my grandfather's coffee. Now Narayana opened his eyes. He saw Tilottama, Rambha, Punjikasthala, CID Shakuntala. They all dance. So then the Lord, he tapped at his thigh. What will happen? When I tap, you will get sound. But Kalidasa tells in Vikramurvashiyam, when he tapped, a beautiful damsel arose. She put all the other damsels to shame. Since she came from the Uru, thigh of the Lord, she was called Uruvashi, Urvashi. That is why in India we still have awards in her name, Urvashi Award. There is no Menaka Award, Siddhikasthala Award. Urvashi, Urujate Urvashi. Vedanta Deshika recognizes this in Devanayaka Panchashar. Striratnakaranam upapatta tritiya varnam daityendra veera shayanam daitopadhanam. Striratnakaranam, the thighs of the Lord were the source of Striratnam, the gem amongst women. Upapatta tritiya varnam. Bahur ajanya kritaha uru tadasya yadvaishyaha. Striratnakarana upapatta tritiya varnam daityendra veerashayanam daitopadhanam, he says. So this Naranarayana avataram, where the Lord ends up preaching Nivritti Dharma, that Lord who came to preach Nivritti Dharma as Naranarayana is called Nivrittatma. 453rd Nama. Now, let us now touch. I've spoken a lot about Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. Let us go to Kerala. So let's go to the capital of Parashurama Kshetram called Thiruvananthapuram. So beautiful Lord, you go, you will fall in love with Ananta Padmanabha. What size? You'll be amazed. You would have made a list what all to ask. You would have forgotten that list. Vedanta Deshika says, Naham na picha matsuto na chasura sarve na chami sada dhyana ropita chetaso munigana jananti Vishnu padam itham nabhik saroja shai pruthukka Vyaharam akarnayan shete pannaga sarvabhauma shayane Shri Padmanabha Shriya. Vedanta Deshika commemorates and sings this beautiful verse of Ananta Padmanabha of Thiruvananthapuram in his allegorical play called Sankalpa Suryodayam. If you go there, of course, there is one small disadvantage. The beauty about Kerala temples, I've taken many astikas to the temples of Kerala on yatras. At least 3, 4, 5 times I've taken 25 temples. The beauty about Kerala temples is very clean, extremely clean. Second, pin drop silence. The priest there, the Nambudri Mas there will not. Generally, if you go to another South Indian temple, Gotram, Gotram, Nakshatram, they will ask. This is how they will do. Correct? If you go, how many of you have been to Upanyasam Kovil? You've seen that Upanyasam Kovil, that Vadhyal said. Markandeya Maharishi, Bhuma Devi Tayar, Mavegam Sharanam. There you go. Pin drop silence. And there won't be one artificial light near the Lord. Only oil lamps. And the deity, except barring a few temples, 3, 4 temples. Otherwise, he'll be very, like Guruvayurappan, very small. And he'll be housed in the Garbhagraham, you're 10 feet away. Natural light. And they would have done a Nirmalya Darshanam. They would have taken all the Abharanams from the Lord and would have applied sandal paste. So to actually check if the Lord is there itself will take little time. You take your specs, put your specs, everything. He'll keep pushing. Now, in Anantapadmanabha Swami temple, you won't have that problem because the deity is huge and you have to see him in 3 dwarams. Karitanuti Sanyasi Bhajananu Gunavihida Sulalita Karamahitam Kalushahara Parisarojvala Padma Tirthari Khandita Sesha Duritam Kalashon Bhavanvita Mahendra Trikuta Varamalaya Chalendra Vimuktam Kaladamana Vanji Martanda Varma Harita Kachana Vimana Rasitam Padmanabam Bhogindra Shainam. Bhogi. What does bhogi mean? Enjoy. You all enjoy. Enjoy. Come on. That is bhogi. Correct? In Sanskritam, bhogi means snake. That snake. Sir, reptile snake is called bhogi? Yes. Because the entire creation is of the Lord. How do we know? Sura, Nara, Khaga, Go. Sura, Nara, Sura. You know Sura? Sura, celestials. Sir, we don't know Sura, we know Sura. Sura, Nara. We are all there. No, there's another category we can be there. I'll tell you there. Sura, Nara, Khaga. Go, bovine. All those which walk with 4 feet. Go. Bhogi. Gandharva. Again, people who can sing. Daityehi. Next category. I told you, right? One more category. Danavas, we are there. Whether we are Kadavul Padi, Mrugam Padi, Kalam Seida, Kalavai Nag. Says one of the 13th Alvar from Alvarpete. So, here, Sura Narakhaga Go Bhogi Gandharva Daityehi Chitram Ramyatetam Tribhuvanavapusham Vishnu Isham Namami. Bhogi means snake. Indra Shabdam in Sanskritam means leader. Bhogi Indra, Bhoginam Indraha, Bhogi Indraha. The leader of snakes is called Bhogi Indra. Ananta Adisesha is called Bhogi Indra. So the Lord who reclines on Bhogi Indra is called Bhogi Indra Shayi. We have another word, Shesha Shayi. Bhogi Indra Shayi. Bhogi Indra Shayinam Purukushaladahinam Purusham Shashvatam Kalaye. So in that kshetram, you see the Lord through 3 dwarams. The head, the nabhi and the padam. Of course, in every temple of the Lord, his pada seva is very important. You see his feet, that which can alleviate your problems, elevate you to a better position. That is his feet. But in Thiruvananthapuram, the central part takes better importance, which is Nabhi. So in those days, there was a question, there was a big competition. You have to check who is the one who has created the worlds. Competition. So they went around checking people's navel, Nabi. See, that may not be a very recommended way. So they checked the Lord. That is when Vedanta Deshika says, Nadi kena spurita rajasa vedhaso nirmimana ramya varta dyutisahachari ranganathasya nabihi. From the Nabhi of the Lord came a beautiful lotus. When Nabhi should be good, lotus is good. Seated on that lotus is Brahma. So it is believed in Upanishad, Narayanat Brahma Jayate. Nanmuganai Narayanan Padittan. So Brahma was born seated on the lotus which emerged from the navel of the Lord. So how is the Lord now? He sleeps on the snake. Bhujagottamaha, 195th Nama. 195. Bhujagottamaha, Hiranyanabha Sudava Padmanabha Prajapatihi. Only if you tell like this we know, sir. Suddenly you're telling 195. Bhujagottamaha, Bhujagasya Seshasya Uttamaha Sheshi Ananta Bhoga Paryanka Shayanaha. The one with great splendor, the royal splendor, who reclines on the serpent couch, is called Bhujagottamaha. Bhujagottam, like Purushottam, you can call your son also Bhujagottam. All these names take inspiration from it. Next is 196th Nama. So he sleeps on the serpent couch, Bhujagottamaha. How is his Nabhi? Nabhi, navel. Hiranya Nabhaha. His navel is gold in color. Sir, that is very confusing, sir. First you tell us what is his complexion. Whether he is dark in color or gold in color. Because Vedam tells Apranaghatu sarvayeva suvarnaha. Hiranyasmashuhu hiranyakeshaha tasya yatha kapyasam puntarikam eva makshini. Chandogya Upanishad, which is integral to Samavedam, says from head to toe he is gold. Mustache is gold. Hair is gold. All golden streaks he has put. Gold head. Gold mustache. Gold body. Apranaghatu sarvayeva suvarnaha. Hiranyamaya purusho drishyate, says Upanishad. So when you look at the sun, in the Madhyavati you see a golden purusha. This is Antaraditya Vidya, Daharadikaranam. Many things talk about golden purusha. But when you come to the Puranas, it states he is dark. Neelabham kunchitaghram dhanamamalataram sagyatam charubhangya ratnottam sabhiramam valaitam udayaschandrakaihi pinchajalaihi mandarasrannivitam dhanaprutukabariparam alokayeham snigdha shvetodhva pundram apicha sulalitam alavarendu nithim. Very dark. Dark. There is no tinge of other color also. Completely dark. You can keep him on that palette. So he's that dark. Upanishad says he's gold. Puranam says he's dark. Somebody said, no, he must have gone to Goa. He got tanned. So he became dark. No. For which my Acharya used to give an explanation. I have come up with my explanation. See, there are many people in Bharata Desham who are like Paramatma. When the movie releases, we have huge cutouts of them. And then below we will all keep reciting. They will pour milk on that particular cutout. Sahasraksha Sahasrapad Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva. Such a big cutout. Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva Atyatishthad Dashangulam. The same Swami stays in my heart as head commander-in-chief. You know head commander-in-chief? Head Tala. Commander-in-chief. Action king. They all stay. Atyatishthad dashangulam purusha eve dadum sarvam yadbhutam yaccha bhavyam udamritatvasyeeshanah yadannena tirohati. First day, first show, we'll go and see FDFS. Hashtag. We'll go and see. So now, if you see that cutout, first they will put that cutout and then there will be the print of that actor's face or body which will be pasted over that cutout. Imagine before pasting we go. So the cutout is there dark, completely dark cutout. Now imagine in that cutout, at the heart portion, they make a small hole. It is dark. And on this side, back side of that cutout, I am standing atop many ladders and holding the torch. You are all seated in the front. That which was dark earlier, if I put that light from the central portion, you can't see it as black. It will all be resplendent. So the Lord is dark. There is no doubt. But the one who sits in his heart is Mahalakshmi, Hiranyavarnam Harini. So her glow has transformed him momentarily into Hiranmaya Purusha, gold man. But he's originally dark. So original complexion dark because of Mahalakshmi, momentarily gold. Now when he's momentarily gold, even his Nabhi has to be gold. Navel. Hiranyanabhaha. Hiranyanabhaha Sayeva. We have Shankara Bhashyam here. What Shankara says is Hiranyaviva Kalyani Nabhisyeti Hiranyanabaha. That Nabhi, that navel, which will bestow auspiciousness is the one who meditates on that Nabhi. So if you meditate on the Lord's Nabhi, only Lord's Nabhi, you will get auspiciousness. Hiranyaneva Kalyani Nabhisyeti Hiranyanabaha. Because one person who heard half the discourse meditate on the Nabi became Chinnagunda. 198th Nama. Padmanabha. Padmanabha. See, Padmanabhasya Purvavat. From his Nabi, gold-hued Nabi, emerged the lotus. In Bhagavatam, those of you who are experts in Bhagavatam will know. When Brahma sat on the lotus, see, Brahma was created. The moment Brahma was created, first of all, he wanted to know who I am. Nanyar. So he wanted to check who I am. So he was holding the petals of the lotus and checked. He was very careful if he falls. So that is the grill. He checked if I should not fall. He was holding the handrails which is equivalent to the petals of the lotus. He then thought there's a huge stamen that comes below these set of petals. Let me check where the stamen with stalk arises. So as he started sliding down the stalk, he kept going. Purana gives a very unrealistic number. 500 Chaturyugas, he kept going. He didn't find the Moolam. Then he thought, see, I should stop now. I should not go any further because there is a problem when you go to an unending destination. You have to stop some because you have to come up all the way again. So then he somehow managed and came, and that is when he heard an Ashariri Vakyam which said, do bring the 16th and the 21st letter together and do meditate on me, which is Tapa, and he did Tapa. Now this Brahma, he was born on the lotus. So this lotus, which was born from the Nabhi of the Lord, the one who owns the Hiranyanabha, from which the Padma arose, is called Padmanabha, 198th Nama. Padmanabhasya Purvavat, 199th Nama. Of course, Brahma came from that lotus. Prajapati, the one who gave birth to Prajapati is called Prajapati. Tat Padmodbhava Prabhutinam Prajananam Patihi Nayakaha Prajapati. So the one who reclines on the lotus is Bhujagottamaha. The one who has got a navel like the gold is called Hiranyanabha. From the Hiranyanabhi came the lotus, so he is called Padmanabha. On Padmanabha were seated the first of the creations, beginning with Brahma, who is called Prajapati. So we've got 4 namas. Now we'll go to another beautiful avatar called as a Vamana avatar. Where did Vamana avatar happen? Now we have finished Kerala. Kerala? Kerala. But there's a technical problem there. I'll tell you how. In Srimad Ramayana, in Balakandam, when Rama is taken by Vishwamitra, they go via a particular hermitage. Rama says, Vishwamitra Maharshi, this is very, 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 very serene. अब बताइए तो ये क्या है? अरुण गोविल asks. ये क्या है विश्वामित्र महर्षि? राम, ये है सिद्धाश्रम. He gives an answer. Pran, ये है सिद्धाश्रम. What is Siddhashramam? That is when Valmiki says, Aditi and Kashyapa performed Payovratam. You know, yesterday at about 7:10, I spoke about Payovratam. You remember? I said Sini Valyam, the tusks of a boar. I said they look like 2 crescents attached to a tuber. Nammalvar's Pasuram I quoted. Yes. You should remember. This is not engineering semester. 5 days you have to remember. So now, after that Vratam, she turned pregnant and then she delivered the little boy called Vamana. Where she delivered Vamana, where he was born, was called Siddhashramam, which is in Bihar. Vamana was from Bihar. Then the same Bhagavatam tells, in order to help his brother regain his lost wealth and property, Vamana went seeking alms to the Yajnavatika of Bali Chakravarti. Bali Chakravarti was performing the yagam in the northern banks of Narmada river in a place where Bhrigu had arrived on a Kachapam. Bhrigu arrived in a Kachapam, so Bhrigu Kachapam over a period of time became Bhuj, which is Gujarat. So from Bihar he came to Gujarat. Now nowhere is Kerala featuring here. Oh sir, Kerala we all do Sadhya le. So this Kerala thing is also true. I'll tell you how. Originally the avataram happened there. So when the avataram happened, Vamana came there, took alms from Bali and then grew as Trivikrama. When he grew as Trivikrama, there's no geography there. When he grew as Trivikrama, every piece of this earth belongs to him. But this beauty of the smallest of the small becoming the biggest of the big. I know, Aniyana, Mahato, Mahiyana, Prameyana, Adisidalu, Yashode, Jagado, Udharana, Anor, Aniyan, Mahato, Mahiyan. When the rishis were flabbergasted with this unique attribute of the Lord becoming the smallest of the small, largest of the large, they wanted the Lord to enact this particular avataram once again. It is called replay, action replay. See, when Virat Kohli gives a helicopter shot, nowadays after Vamika's presence, he is doing with her. So as he does that helicopter shot, you see, I don't know how many of you have this. So when I'm watching cricket, I always feel when I'm looking, nobody will hit that 4. So I will go inside. I feel I'm not auspicious enough for them to hit. The moment I go, they will hit a 6. Every time it happens. Now this year, I don't know how many of you are following IPL. With IPL, you come for Upanyasam. How great! I feel so blessed today. So earlier it used to come on Disney plus Hotstar for us in India. Now it is coming on Jio. So, well, I go inside and then my entire family will be clapping. But I know something good has happened. Then I will come. That time Jio feels that Dushyanth should also have a look at that helicopter shot. So they will replay that previous shot. Slowly that person will come, put that ball. Maivannan Narunkunji Kudalkin Taya Agaramshe Kudal Ilkad Ilangi Ada. Because we used to have one bowler in Lasit Malinga. To me he used to be like Nisimhavatar. Marimalai Muranjil, Manikram Uram, Irayingam, Aligutte, Vedit, very my Ponga, Podum, Udari, Muri, Murangi, but that my one Naran Kunji, every act you will observe how beautiful they hit that. So he will hit, and then this man would have hit. So at that moment when I'm watching that helicopter shot did not take place. It happened before. For my pleasure, it is being replayed. Similarly, to that avataram of Vamana, which happened in Sahasranamam and later glistened in Bharuch, the rishis living to the north of Ernakulam, Kochi, they wanted to have a glimpse of that avataram. So they prayed to the Lord, and the Lord, in their yogic eyes, Manasika Sharira, Manasika eyes, the Divyam Dadami Te Chakshuhu, says Krishna. So similarly, in those divine eyes, that avataram was replayed. So Kerala is that place where Vamana avataram, Trivikrama avataram was replayed for the Darshana Saubhagyam of the rishis. That Kshetram is called Trikarkara. He's called Karkarayappan, one of the 108 Divyadeshams. South of that, he'll be standing in Trikarkara. All you should visit these places whenever you go to India, though you have 2-3 weeks in your hand. Visit your relatives, visit your friends, shop. But make 3-4 days every time to visit 2 places of beautiful architectural significance. Why are those temples made for? For us to enjoy. Look at that architecture. Associate yourself with civilization. Every time you hear something, listen to something, and then see it in architecture that stays in your mind. See, for example, Naranarayana Avataram, 4th century temple. 4th. 1600 years back. Roughly 800 years before Oxford and Cambridge were born. 4th century AD, we have a Gupta temple in a place called Devgad. This Devgad is a beautiful temple based on the Pancharatra Agamam. It was constructed in the north of India. There, if you go to one of the walls, you will see Naranarayana Avataram there. Very ancient temple. So it's very important for us to keep, associating ourselves with architecture. It's just not about reading shlokas and listening to lectures. See it in architecture. Now, this particular avataram, south of Cochin, is in a kshetram called Tripunitura. Have you heard of Tripunitura? Yes. The Lord is called Purnatrayeshan. Beautiful Lord. It is related to Santana Gopala Charitram of Krishna Avataram. When Krishna was in Dwaraka, there was one couple who was losing their child every time the child was born. So this man cried for help. Arjuna promised to help. Krishna said, do not interfere in my internal affairs. You don't bother us. But Arjuna said, don't worry, Brahmana. You produce a child next year, I will protect the child. The Brahmana sincerely did that job. So the child was born, and Arjuna went and covered the entire place where the child was born with all possible astrams. He gave a protective charm to that place. Finally, that child too went missing. The Brahmana did not want to go just like that. He said, Arjuna, you have to commit suicide. See, you have not fulfilled your promise. Well, Arjuna was about to kill himself. That is when Krishna held his hand and said, don't worry, I am always there to protect my friend. They all sat. Something which is logically untenable always happens. So the entire chariot by Krishna's grace crossed the 7 worlds, crossed the Viraja Nadi and went into Vaikuntham. And Arjuna was surprised, so was the Brahmanas, to see the beautiful Gayatri Mantapam. And seated amidst the Gayatri Mantapam, over the 1,000-petal lotus and the 1,000-hooded Adisesha, was the Lord with one leg folded, one leg extended, with his consorts there. And those lost children of the Brahmana was playing on the lap of Mahalakshmi. So then those children were given back to the Brahmana, and the Brahmana came along with Arjuna. While doing so, the Sthala Puranam tells that a beautiful Divyamangala Vigraham of the Lord was given, the Brahmana carried, that was worshipped one generation after the other of his, and that generation still continues in that temple of Tripunithura. Minnum palatara ratnangal chetulla ponnum kireetamum paladishe നന്നായലങ്കരിച്ചിടും തിലകവും പൂർണ്ണത്ര ഈശ്വര കാണേണം മല്ലികാബാണന്റെ കൈതലമേവിന വില്ലിലകക്കാമ്പിലല്ലേകും ചില്ലിനകകളും നാസിക ഭംഗിയും പൂർണ്ണത്ര ഈശ്വര കാണേണം. മലയാളിയാണോ ഇവിടെ? ശരിയാണ്. So this is the beauty of the Lord. Now in this avataram of Vamana avataram, there are a few namas. 154th nama. Before that itself, Vamana avataram begins. I'm just telling a few names. Upendro Vamana Pramshu Amogha Shushiru Jidaha. These are all namas. Atindra Sak. All these are related to Vamana avataram. 154th nama Vamanaha. Sayeva Indrasan Tranaya Balimakha Vamanaha. So Vamana, who came to Bali Chakravarti's Yajnavatika, what happens? That Bali had seized many people's wealth through sheer force. He was a good man, but he was misguided by his teacher. Teacher generally guides, but his teacher misguided. But he had great devotion to the teacher. The teacher was Shukracharya. Shukrena Sanyati Balir Mahatma. Shakrena Sanyati Balir Mahatma. Shukrena Jivita Tanu Vardhito Ushma, says Bhattatri. So while Bali Chakravarti had seized different people's wealth in unrighteous ways, the Lord wanted to get back that wealth which he had seized wrongly. But it was very tough to defeat Bali because he had great Guru Bhakti. Kanu kaina kridroga mudu gagana munu peti guru lega getu bandi bhuni kiteli yaga podu sadguru lega getu bandi ಗರುಬರಹಿತವ ಮಾಡಿಯೇ ನನ್ನು ಪೊರವೆ ಭಾರವು ನಿಮ್ಮದೇ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರು ಪುರಂದರ ದಾಸರೇ. So Guru Acharya Sambandham is very important. He had great Acharya Bhakti. So the only way to defeat Bali was to create a rivalry between the Sishya and the Guru. So the Lord came as Vamana. He was giving whatever people asked. Whatever you ask, Bali will give. So what will the Brahmana give us A2 milk 1 gallon? 2 gallons of A2 milk. 3% milk. Quinoa. That is the goat's food, right? Quinoa. Brown rice, black rice. Now you have black rice also. All this they asked. Finally, Bali Chakravarti thought there's nobody else in the queue. Let's close the counter today. When they were about to close, Bali! He heard one audio, no video. He checked, where is this audio coming from? Little, very short. His pituitary gland had not even functioned 1%. Very small, very short. But he sat on the ground. Even then, he couldn't reach the boy's height level. He asked, sir, why have you come here? I've come to seek alms. I'll be very happy, sir. You look so cute. What do you want? 3 measures of flour. Sugar loaf. Sugar loaf. Okay, I'll give you one house in Sugarloaf neighborhood. No sugar loaf. Duluth? No Duluth. Marietta? No Marietta. Alpharetta? No Alpharetta. Then what do you want, my little boy? I will measure it on my own. Hey, Vaman. Your feet are so small. What will you measure? You will not even get a few millimeters of a scale. What will you measure? The boy said, don't worry, I'll take care. So he said, Vindhyavali. Vindhyavali was Bali's wife. Get me those kamandalam. She brought that kamandala jalam. And the easiest way to part with the possession or property that you had was to use one of the panchabhutas, either fire or water, and say, I give this to you. So as he was doing, she bent that kamandala, water was not coming. It was like Californian pipe. This year they had good rains, previous year. So then she said, oh, what do we do? Then Bali Chakravarti said, we need to call the plumber. Call the plumber. The boy said, I'm having a toolkit. He said, I will take care. Now he pricked. That water came. What did he prick? See, when Bali Chakravarti promised the boy, I will give you what you desire, the moment the Bali Chakravarti was seen talking to this little boy, somebody got really startled, panic-stricken. He said, Bali, come here. He brought Bali and said, see, I'll speak to you. Do not turn, do not turn, do not turn. Just keep listening to what I say, don't react. Bali Chakravarti said, okay, don't react. You know the boy whom you were talking to? Yes, he was very cute. Yes, he looks cute. He is the one who came as Nrsimha and tore open your grandfather's father's stomach. He says, Nrsimha, don't turn, don't turn. He is the one who came as Nrsimha. Do you mean to say that the Lord has come to my doorstep seeking alms from me? How blessed I am. No. Did you promise him? Yes, I said I'll give what you want. No, you change your answer. You say I'll get back to you shortly. What will the boy then call me? Customer care. I'll get back to you shortly. I don't know about the customer care there. You will have wonderful service probably. There in India, there is Tamilukku ஒன்றை அழுத்தவும். Polish, press 2. You press 2. Then it will say for credit card, press 1. By the time you do all this, it will get cut. Begin the process again. So, see, get back to you shortly. But that is when Bali said, this is when I cannot listen to what you say, Guru. When I promise someone, Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara, I have to give. That is when the Acharya got angry. When you are not listening to what I say, you shall lose your property. He cursed. This is what the Lord was waiting for. The Guru-Sishya rivalry should be there. You know, interestingly, in Shastriya Sangeetam, there is a belief. So many gurus may not believe in that. There is a belief that the guru should not teach Varali Ragam to the students. That Ragam alone. You have to listen to others and grasp that Ragam. They won't teach you directly. That is why most of the elementary portions in Shastriya Sangeetam will not have Varali Ragam. Because they believe if you learn Varali Ragam, then the student and teacher will end up quarreling. Mriga Madalalama Shubha Nitila Varajata Yumoksha Palada Pavamana. So all this you have to just listen. Mama Nakshi Rajama Tangi Madhuravani Varali Veni Kartikeya. Kartikeya is Varali? Kavava Kandava Yamai Kava Velava Padarimalayurayu Muruga Shanmuga Kumara Baba. All this you have to learn. Of course, you can still end up fighting with your teacher without learning Varali. People say you should not have Mahabharata in the home. You know, well, I used to, in those days, Anantarama Dikshita used to give 48 days of lectures on Mahabharata. Beautiful Grantham. Karpangadi Swami used to give, Sundar Kumar Anna used to give. Not many people give Mahabharata lectures. So in 2016, I took up this daunting task of giving lectures on Mahabharata. First thing when I told the organizer, please choose some other topic. So I'll ask, why? So people believe that if you read or keep Mahabharata in the house, you'll end up fighting. I said, to fight, you don't need a Mahabharata book in the house. Right? Does Ukraine and Russia have Mahabharata? They're always fighting. So we are so adept in fighting that we may end up teaching how to fight to Mahabharata. Mahabharata will take lessons from us. We will give lessons. So here the Lord, he said, okay, that is why Shukracharya prevented. So this crossing Guru rivalry. Shukracharya, he induced, remember, when Puranas tell something, you should not take it as is. People will say, he became the bee and went into the bee. No. Using Ashtama Siddhi, a part of his attributive knowledge called Dharma Bhuta Jnana was put into a bumblebee. He was there physically. But a part of his Dharma Bhuta Jnanam through Yogic Shakti went into a bumblebee. That bumblebee went and prevented the water from coming. The boy took that darbha grass and inserted it, and it pricked one of Shukracharya's eyes. So Shukra did not have one of the eyes. And that is when he went on a prayashchitam. He applied in Shankar Netralaya. Keshava Katakshaika Netram, says Dikshita in the Varakriti. Keshava Katakshaika Netram. So that is why Alvar says, Shukiran Kannai Aruttane Acho Acho Chakkarakkayane Acho Acho. So now, as the water started pouring, he gave it to Vamana and turned. So this boy who came to the Yajnavatika to retrieve the wealth of his elder brother Indra was called Vamana. Sayeva Indra Santranaya Balimakhe Vamana. Then as Bali turned and gave that Kamandalu to Vindhyavali, he saw some big shadow on him. Why this shadow? Today's weather report was also fine. What happened? He checked. This voice started growing. As he grew, kept on growing. Without his dhoti tearing, he grew. Now, generally, if I have to speak, how will I say? Valandandi Ponarappo Perumal, Valandaram, Valandande Ponaram, Valandaram, Valandaram. He grew, he grew, he grew. But this is not the way you have to describe. So, my hero Vedanta Deshika comes to my rescue. He says, when the Lord grew, initially the constellation of stars in the sky looked like a canopy. As he grew, the constellation of stars became his necklace. As he grew further, it became his girdle. As he grew further, it became his anklet. So instead of saying he kept on growing, the way we describe. Poets have their own way. So they kept the constellation of stars as constant and Vamana as the variable. So the variable fits, in vernier calipers, you can move this side. Vernier calipers measure. So you can move this side. So likewise, he grew while one remained constant. But there's a technical problem here. What fits as a necklace will not fit as a girdle. You need 10 necklaces to fit as a girdle. But why does he say that? Because the Vyakhyata says in Samudrika Lakshana Shastram, for the man and the woman, the size of the neck should be the size of the hip. That thing, what fits here should fit there. So broad chest and it should simply taper down to the hip and it should become so thin. So you can take this and fit it here. Quite unimaginable and close to impossible today. So That Lord who measured, now when he measured the worlds, we keep telling he measured the worlds, he measured the worlds. Measured is not the way we see it as a process. Took a tape 1 to 10, 10 centimeter. That is not measurement. Measurement is owning. When you say, for example, when great scholars come to temples, great acharyas come to temples, there is a royal way of welcoming them. It's called Purna Kumbham. You keep the Vedic vessel, and then the priest would recite Vedic hymns and would then welcome the Acharya. So, technically, what is the qualification to keep Purna Kumbham? The person to whom you welcome using a Purna Kumbham should know the meaning of Purna Kumbham. Just like that, you should not give. See, for example, you give the Purna Kumbham to someone, there is a way when the person chants hymns, you should touch that particular Kumbham and then they will take you forward. This is the way. If a person doesn't know this, he will end up taking the Purna Kumbham. And the priest will suffer. So, the way you accept somebody's respect is to touch that Purna Kumbham. Like how Mainaka, the Parvatam, which stopped Hanuman, said, you can rest in my mountain 4 days, 3 nights, 9 only. Hanuman said, see, I can't stay. My objective is to see Sita. I shall embrace you. He embraced the mountain. So he said, treat this embrace as having been a recipient to your hospitality. This is akin to that. Similarly, when the Lord touched with his lotus-like feet, it means he owns whatever is up. With his lotus foot, he touched the earth. Now, how did he touch? See, it's a very, very beautiful description again. When we cook, all of us should cook. Cooking is a beautiful art. You learn Vedanta in cooking. Understand? Now, in cooking, I'm just talking about the Indian dishes. I may not be as good as you all in the Mexican, the nachos and the lasagna and all of that. So let's keep it Indian now. And but let me not just keep it South Indian. Let's now go to Gujarat. Let's make dhokla. After dhokla, you'll have to season it with the mustard seeds at the top, right? So there is one box technically in every house that follows an Indian cuisine that has all these spices in small cups. So, but when we cook, we may have our fingers moist. We may not be those typical TV chefs. We'll all be in a different shape, so we'll end up taking little here, little there. So what will happen is a lot of the mustard seeds that we put into the last part of the seasoning will actually get stuck to our fingers. Then we'll realize we do this either on us or on the apron, whichever it is, that mustard will fall on the ground. So as we walk on the kitchen floor, even without our knowledge, those mustard seeds would have stuck to our feet, the foot or the feet. Later, and it won't trouble us at all. We wouldn't have even realized that the mustard would have stuck to our feet. Later, when we sit, watch PS2 or something, put the leg on the top, like Vaikunthanatha we put, then we realize, oh, it is a mustard. So it has stuck to our foot without our knowledge because it doesn't pain us at all. The world was stuck to the Lord's foot like a mustard, it seems. He didn't realize it. So it was not as if he was measuring, something was troubling him, he couldn't walk, it's like acupuncture, nothing like that. So this Lord who measured the earth, he did not check. I will measure only Matunga in Mumbai. Only Usman and Habibullah in Tinagar. There were 3 Mahatmas, Bazullah, Habibullah and Usman in Chennai. They were like Siddhitrayam, important for our. So I will measure only that. Douglas Road, Douglas Road. I will measure only that. He didn't say. Without any disparity, he measured Scotland, Ukraine, Russia, India, everything. So this avataram of the Lord, probably you can say to Nrsimha avataram, he showed partiality towards Prahlad. Hiranyakishipu he tore open, but Vamana avatara, when he became Trivikrama, he didn't see that disparity. Poor, young, old, young, poor, rich, tall, short, dark, white, black, yellow, brown. No difference. He measured the world. That is why the Lord who doesn't see disparity is called Uttama. That is why Andal tells, Ongi Ulagalanda Uttaman Perpadi. He is Uttama. In India now we have Uttama villain. Nasya vyarthostiti amogaha barivasavayor viseshena kritarthi karanat. The one who doesn't see disparity amongst his devotees, like how he didn't see while measuring the world, as he was blessing Bali and Indra, is called Amogha. So you can call your grandson Amog. He will treat his mother and mother-in-law same. Daughter, daughter-in-law same. Wife and mother-in-law, that is the technical term. So Amogha. Many more namas. But we have got 2 more days left. In those 2 days, I have to tell the nama for the 6th point of the 6 features. Then I have to cover the 6 questions and the 6 answers and a few other namas. All that we will do in 2 more days. Weekday, many of you are working, I know, but still you are so benevolent that you have made up. See, there are many concerts. Music concerts are plenty. Children perform, there is Arangetram, there is plenty of scope. Dance, music. But generally discourses are lesser compared to the other cultural programs. So you have to make time and come and bring more people here because it is in English. I'm sure at least 80%, barring the few portions where I may digress into Tamil, which is my mother tongue. Most of the other portions are in English, which I presume is quite comprehensible and relatable. So bring them 2 more days, Thursday, Friday. And then after that, I'm going to Seattle. So, as requested yesterday, Sri Ahobila Mutt, which has been doing a yeoman service to Sanatana Dharma, has a lot of Sishyas across the states, which is also serving Veda Patashala, Annadanam, so on and so forth. So, this is made as a free to all lecture by the benevolence of the Prakritam Acharya. So, my earnest request is please make generous contributions to Sri Ahobila Mutt. There are bhaktas and astikas here. Please ask them for the details and make donations there. One more request. I've been speaking in English. Did I make this announcement? No. So, I've been speaking in English on the Ramayana for 15 minutes every day. Just 15 minutes. It is called Ramayana for Rama Janma Bhumi in English. 292 episodes, 15 minutes every day. Per episode, 15 minutes. Over 20-25 episodes are over till the 15th of Jan. Presumably the day when Rama Janma Bhumi in Ayodhya will get inaugurated after a lot of struggle, 5-6 centuries of struggle. So to commemorate that, because now we have a temple, but we should know Ramayana. So for the benefit of the younger generation, I'm sure the elderly people here would have listened to Ramayana and read the Ramayana many times. It wouldn't be something new to you. So this is made for your children because people ask, so for the next generation help, what more can I do? You have to listen. See, 2 hours lecture, nobody can sit. You're all sitting, but most of them can't. So 15 minutes every day, it is there in YouTube for free consumption. No political statement, no abusive language, simple language. So you can ask your children, pass those, you should listen and you should pass those videos to them. Please make it a point to pass it to them. And I'll just take 1 minute of yours. There are a few questions asked by the Astikas here. So I'll just take up 1 or 2 questions very quickly and answer them. How to draw the youngsters into our Sampradayam? As you know, many brush aside the advice of the elders. 1, it is the duty of we, the speakers, to make the content of such lectures as relatable and simple as possible. I am not here to show my vidvat. In Brahma Sutram, Shastra Yonitvar is a Brahma Sutram, where Shastra Shabda, if I tell all this, who will listen? Only except the scholars. We need to make sure that our content is very digestible, enjoyable, cherishable. That is our duty. There are writers, all that. There is another duty in the aspect of parents and grandparents. First, you should listen. See, when you keep listening, you will be surprised, I'll tell you. Your children may not sit and listen, but the content will go into their ears. So when you keep these videos on, lectures on, and especially if they are in English, of course, there is a different accent to the English language here, but I'm sure your children will understand the Indian accent too. See, it takes a lot of effort from my side to go get trained in American accent and come, because I go to different countries. Each country will have its own, what la, come la, that's Singapore accent. Every time I can't keep learning the accent. This is my English. I'm sure your children can understand. So when you listen, trust me, your children will subconsciously keep listening to it. And if they find something relatable, they just quietly turn and check, oh, that I like. So you should listen first. You will not have the moral authority to tell your children keep listening when you don't listen. You cannot tell. I know Ramayana extremely well. Trust me. Every time you listen to Ramayana, you learn something new. So you should listen. Read. See, I'll tell you, just not just because my profession is speaking. Listening is the foremost of all skills. Reading, writing, composing, all that comes later. Listen, listen, listen. 2,000 hours a year. Plan it. Either while you're gymming, you have to listen. While gardening, you have AirPods. Put that on. Walking, you listen. Some people say only when your lectures are on, we can sleep. So at least use my lectures for sleeping. I'll be grateful for generations. So use. There's no harm. Keep listening. And one more last point to this question. When children make little efforts, 1 or 2 small efforts, don't discourage them. They recite a shloka, there may be 1 or 2 mistakes. That will do. Calm. That child will stop saying. When the child says something, listen. Appreciate the child. Twice or thrice later, then you say, see, you did very well. Just try whether you can see that Shuklam is better. Then don't say Shuklam, it's Shuklam. The child will do. Do not discourage. This is not just for the children in the US. I keep telling in Bharatadesham as well. When somebody comes, appreciate them. You've come all this while. We are so happy to have you. Do you know Ramayana? Mahabharata hota hai. Showcasing your knowledge is not going to help. Are we Vyasas and Valmikis? We may know 2 shlokas more than the child, but are we in competition with the rishis? So do not discourage, do not underestimate anybody's potential. So in Sanatana Dharma, as I keep telling, we don't have the money to keep luring people, okay, come here, I'll give you this money. We don't have. Nor do we have that Gambhiryam to tell, if you don't come, bring that sword. We are not a religion that either pulls people through money or fear. The only weapon we have is knowledge. Only through knowledge can we live in the civilization and help others sustain in the civilization. For that, we must listen and let others also listen. Encourage. Negative words will never land us anywhere. So the youngsters today are doing a good job. If we don't know, we were all different, then we should have 50, 60 Alvars here. See, nothing has changed over generations. With so much of diversion, the child is still able to do. That is the greatness of 2023. Appreciate the child. Surely they'll come. And now you may say, sir, over and beyond that, I've tried my everything. I keep appreciating, sir, but still he doesn't come. Leave it. I'll tell you why. Beyond a certain point, even parents can't correct the karma of their children. We should get that essence right. Vilupta murdhanya lipikramanam. If the Lord chooses, he can change. But beyond a certain point, parents keep saying, what will I do, sir? Whatever I say, he doesn't listen. What would I do? That's all. Till one point, you can try. Over and above, the karma will overtake. The mother's, father's affection. You can't change the karma of the child. You can't change your own karma. Leave the child's karma. So beyond the point, you worry about your journey to Vaikuntham. One point, the mother, father have to guide the children. Beyond a certain point, leave that worry and take your journey ahead. Don't be bothered about what will I do. La Acharyas will take care. No, for us, our own journey. So I've answered one question. Remaining questions I'll answer in the next 2 days. Kavita Kisa Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha Swasti Prajabhya Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Manishaha Gobramana Shubham Astu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kayena Vacha Manasendriyeva Buddhyatmana Padade Swabhava Karuni Tritakalam Rasmi Sriman Narayana Yadi Samarpayami Kalyana Rupaya Kalau Jananam Kalyana Datre Karuna Sudhapte Kambari Divya Yudha Satkaraya वामालयाधीश नमो नमस्ते नारायण 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 नारायण